LBZ LMM versus 6.4. If you're like me, you like to see stuff visually, so let's look at the connecting rods first. Both of them are a cracked cap design. What does that mean? Well, we understand as humans that we're never going to machine stuff as precise as a cracked cap. So this is actually forged as one piece, and then it is cracked in half, and then those two are married for the lifetime. I want to take a look at these side by side. This is an LBZ LMM, and this is the 6.4. I mean, look at the pure size difference in the 6.4. First difference I want to point out is this. Look at where the crank would go through the rod. The 6.4's is quite a bit bigger, and when you look at measurements, it doesn't seem like that much, but side by side, you can really see the difference. 6.4 uses this 45 degree, and this one's a straight. I don't know. Maybe there's an inherent benefit to this because I do believe Duramax switched to this, but I don't actually know what it is. But I'd like to point out is like, look at the beefiness here. Look at that compared to this. I mean, it is a little bit, it's wider this way, but just look at that difference. One thing about the LBZ though is you got two oiling ports up here for that and a brass insert, and the 6.4 does not have the brass insert and only has one oiling deal. And you can see on the one that I got, it actually has a bunch of scoring in there from the wrist pin. Speaking of wrist pin, look at these side by side. The 6.4's again is bigger, but I think that has to do with the brass inserts that a Duramax utilizes, where the 6.4 does not have those brass inserts. And I actually think that if you took the brass inserts out, they would actually have the same diameter in the piston. Isuzu, Molly, and they're actually both casted by Molly, so I think that's kind of interesting. You can see in here the LBZ actually gives a little bit more room up top here, and that explains why the 6.4 has this narrow and the LBZ's is wide. This is the 6.4 piston top, and you can see whoever was driving this slapped the valves a couple times. This one wasn't as easy to wash off, but you can see the injector starts to spray here and then ends inside of this lip in here, and actually this lip is what causes all the cracks on a 6.4. If you get aggressive timing, it'll spray out here, and then you'll create, like, it'll still burn here, but as it like swirls back to try to complete the burn, it actually creates a cutting torch like effect on this lip, and that's what'll start cracking here, and then it'll send a crack across the piston. Now an LBZ utilizes a similar style lip. They don't have as an aggressive of a point on the actual center, but that's not what causes the cracking anyways. And an LBZ can crack here too, but they're more notoriously known for cracking across the bottom here, right in here. I do think that both of them crack because of this. But what else? Another interesting is they're the exact same height. You want to see the bore difference? Let's see if I can even get a good angle to see that. It is less than a guy would think. Because the Duramax is an over square or under square, however you word it, their bore is actually bigger than their stroke, and the 6.4 is the opposite. Has a longer stroke than it does bore, but we're still talking pretty damn close. Gnat's ass. Not gnat's ass. Like that's leveled to one side, so that would be about the diameter difference. These cap bolts too, the rod cap bolts, are actually bigger on a Duramax than they are on the 6.4. I don't think that has to do, you don't have a lot of stress being put on the bottom side of a rod anyways, so that's not really anything. Might as well start calling the 6.4 Arby's because they got the meat.